Okay, thanks for tuning into Stampscaping 101. I wanted to do a fairly quick card composition on this video. It's just coming off of a very long video. It got really long because the card was, fairly large. It was a half sheet, and I also showed everything, from like cutting out the mats and everything like that. So this scene right here is just about as quick as you can do. It's just a monochromatic scene featuring 1, 2, 3, 4 stamps. 3 stamps make up the composition here, and that's the Mystical Water, Lakeside Reflections Large, and the Reeds Large stamp, wherever that is. Here it is, right here, down at the base. And I just laid in some tones in here, some values, basically using 2 colors, and that would be black, the one black that I stamped at my scenes in, toned it in the same way, and then I've gone in and I've brought in just a hint of some other hue into the scene. In this case it was the deep lilac. I also used some of the Adirondack eggplant, but it was this pad's fairly dry, so I don't know how much of that got on there. But anyways, I had a little bit of fun with these little kind of glowing orbs. They kind of represent maybe some kind of firefly or something like that in there. I thought we needed something in there. It got really dark, and I just needed to liven up the scene a little bit with some kind of focal point, and I thought those little glowing orbs did the trick. And they also kind of added another layer of imagery, even though they're just little dots, points of light. I thought it kind of livened up the scene because it is so simplistic and minimal. I thought it could use just a little bit of some other touch. Okay, I wasn't going to put in like some duck or something like that, or bird against that dark background. So anyways, just a very minimal border around the quote stamp and the scene itself. And I don't know, just a quick and easy card. Hope you enjoy the making of it, and once again, thanks for tuning in. Okay, just finished a very long video, last week, that went into the, I don't know, 2.5+ hour mark, which is kind of crazy because I think that's getting into like the Lord of the Rings territory in terms of time frame. So I wanted to do something really fast, and maybe on a 1/4 page scene right here, less experimental, and something kind of dark and cool. Right now we're having 100-degree temperatures here in Southern California this week, and I just wanted to do something kind of counter to that, and I was thinking about something very dark and murky maybe, and I started thinking, let's try to approach this scene right here and try to make possibly the darkest scene in the history of rubber stamping. How's that? Dark in terms of value. And if we do that, maybe dark in terms of emotional content as well. It depends on the interpretation of the viewer, I guess. This is Lakeside Reflections Large right here. I wanted something kind of bold with a lot of solids in it that's going to hold up against the the value scheme that I placed down here. Just stamping it out in black. I didn't want to use colors on this if it was going to go to the extreme value range. I'm stamping out my imagery that's going to hold up against all of the additional tones that I put down. And I might just do this one kind of in a monochromatic grayscale. I might add some temperature in there in the end. This is Mystical Waters right here. It's number 255G. This could also be stamped out in a much lighter tone. It doesn't have to get heavy like this, you know, in all applications. Okay. I'm trying to decide if I want to go with some additional tone down there. I don't think I need to. Okay, now, I mean, I'm not just going to go for dark's sake. I'm going to try to have, you know, a slight range of values in this scene. Wow, look at that. I haven't used this tip right here for probably, I don't know, week and a half maybe. Maybe it's been a week, but see how moist that is. And it's been really dry out here, so you know, when you use these stylus tools, they do really turn into kind of a, you know, an ink pad on a stick, you know, in many ways, because it's foam and it holds quite a bit of ink there. This ink happens to be probably one of the distress inks, so it's fairly thick, and it stayed moist. I didn't have this covered at all. Okay. Anyways, that's a little bit of a warm tone in there. I'm just going to go with that, okay? And now, normally you see me starting with some kind of seashell, but I want this to go fairly dark, so I want my darker tones to penetrate the page and to get very dark, so I'm just going to go in straight with the, I'm using Marvy Black right here. Okay. It does have some of that distress ink in there, so you know, it should blend okay. Now, because I am going on with a very dark tone to begin with, okay, I have to be careful. I'm adjusting the pressure that I'm applying with this tip right here. It's a very light stroke. Okay, I'm just touching the page barely. You can see it barely leaves any ink on there because I just have a very light touch on it, okay? Re-inking, and see how I'm staying in that one area? You know, I'm not moving down here and going all over the place. I'm just kind of staying in that one area. And I can get a smooth transition just going on with that, dark ink. Okay? Now, if I'm going to make this scene really, really dark, alright, I do want there to be some kind of contrast working in there. I just won't have very many of the, you know, the lighter tones in there. It'll just be probably 95% some shade of gray, and maybe I'll have, I don't know, maybe not even 5%, well, maybe 5% or something like that. 5% will be some kind of minimal highlights in there. So you can see, I mean, I'm going straight into the dark tone right here. And again, you just have to use a little bit more touch. It's not going to be, the scene is not going to be, you know, featuring a lot of depth in terms of, you know, the richness of colors, okay? Because simply we're not using, we're not going to be using very many of them. Okay, so just keep re-inking and staying in one place before you move on. That's one of the things that I really have to get people used to doing when they're applying inks, when they're first starting off with this process right here. A lot of times you'll see the end result, okay, and they'll think that they need to color around it like in that motion right there, but it's really just staying in one little area for a while, okay? And then you're moving on to the next one, like that, okay? as opposed to trying to do the entire perimeter. Okay, it's one little area, and you're really working that transition to completion in whatever whatever hue or color that you happen to be working in at the time. Okay, so if this was, light blue right now, I would put a lot of light blue down there and those full transitions before I moved on my next blue. In this case, we're just going with a straight monochromatic. You can see this really coming together here. This is just one color so far. Alright, I have a little bit of a light coming through the background, shining down here. Still a little bit too light for me though, but I'm still working on it. So anyways, just stay in that one little area. Light touch, don't try to get super dark, using pressure and pulling, because that's where tips tend to rip, foam tips. But as you can see, this is a pretty complete statement in terms of a value scheme, okay? This is coming together, and it could be done. And that card would have taken all of, or that scene would have taken all of maybe, I don't know, 10 minutes or so. Maybe less, maybe it's more like 5 minutes. I'm looking at my time on the timestamp on this camera. It's only 8, well, it just turned 9 minutes right now, but I've also been talking, so. Okay, I want to get this even darker. Getting fairly dark. I like my four corners to be pretty dark, so I'm going to apply more tone there. Okay. There's a different kind of emotional quality to black and white, isn't there? A lot of people like black and white photography. Some people don't, but just doing something kind of in a monochromatic exercise like this, I believe is a really good exercise, even if you don't prefer, or maybe not even like, just straight black and white imagery. Because what this does is it really gets you to focus in on the values or the value scheme of a given scene. It doesn't have to get this dark though, okay? But what it does is if you just go in with, black ink like this, or some other kind of dark ink, you can do this with a, dark green or dark purple or dark brown or something like that too. But what it does is it really strengthens your ability to see values and to really achieve a full range of values using whatever color ink that you happen to be working with. So, say for example I'm using this brown right here. I should be able to get a full range of browns going from this to white, basically, okay? Just by using less of it, okay? Now, there's some grays in here because the black on this tip right here was drier by the time I worked it in there. Okay. The thing that's going through my mind right now is I'm wondering if I can do any kind of highlights in here at all, or if it would look strange. because there's not really a super bright light anywhere in there. I guess in there I still have a little bit of remnants of the white of the page. I'm not sure if that's pure white or if that's a little bit of there might have been a little bit of ink in all of these areas so far, but it's just getting so dark that you know, I don't know if there would really be some kind of brighter reflection of something in there. Okay, let's see. Let's go for some streaks. I'm kind of doing this type of motion right now, getting a streak going across in here. Which is kind of in the spirit of the stamp, you know, it's kind of moving in a horizontal motion. It's really kind of squiggly in there too, but what this is looking is I'm putting a streak like that, and then I'm going with another streak here, and, you know, flipping around, kind of going like that type of thing. So it's always kind of thicker on the outside or darker, and it goes lighter in the middle, and that's what's happening. Kind of right here, it's darker right here, and as it transitions in here, it gets lighter, and then darker, lighter, thick, thin. Okay. And to do that too, I don't have my tip flat like this. Okay. I have it on its side like that at an angle. Okay. And as I put more of it down, you see, I'm kind of lifting that off the page. Okay, I'm not going just straight in and coming up. Okay, so it's just like this little pendulum motion like that. Okay, it's easy to do. And in doing so, the edges of your card get darker, and it kind of frames things off a little bit more. Okay. Let's see. I'm thinking about this. David, I really need something else in the foreground. Boy, do I want to use these reeds again? They're a little bit thicker. Okay, I gotta go with my foreground stamp of so many scenes right here, and the reeds large, just to get something else down to kind of anchor that scene a little bit. Can you see that at all? We'll see what it looks like after it kind of blends into the background there. That's fairly wet right there. I don't know if I'm going to put any other, well, I was trying to decide if I want to put any other color in there. Boy, this one's a tough one. I can go with blue, and I really like that look. And I can go with like a brown for kind of a more sepia thing, but I always do that. So I'm trying to think of if I want to kind of put a twist in this. If I can put green too, and that would kind of look algae-ish or something like that, or kind of give it a murky look. But I want to try something different. Here's a red fired brick distress. Or maybe, I was thinking of some kind of violet tone in there. Here's an Adirondack eggplant. Alright, let me see, I'll just figure something out here. Let's see what this looks like here. Kind of violety. This pet is really super dry too. I need to re-ink that sometime. Okay, a little bit darker value. Let's take a look at this fired brick right here. I don't know if I want it that warm. Okay, I tell you what, let's just go with some kind of combination. I have this, let's use the same tip right here, but let's, I don't know, let's just try this one right here. I always kind of started in the darker areas and then slowly work my way into the lighter areas where it'll be more visible. Kind of initially I can't really tell anything at all. Okay, let's try the Marvi Uchida. This one's the deep lilac. Okay. It could just be that that pad's a little bit more moist. Let's get a little bit of that tone here and there. It's really barely showing. But I kind of like it. There's a little bit of tone right there and there. It's just like a hint of a new color. I still want to keep some of the white of the cardstock. And I can see my reeds down here are very, very moist, so careful not to go over it. Alright. Let's try some of this pigment ink here, just to give it a little bit of moist atmosphere. Let's have some of that light kind of coming through the trees and kind of causing a little bit of diffusion of the shapes. And we're not going to have too much of it because there is so little light in there anyway. A little bit of background glow. Okay, and why don't we can put a little bit of this down in the water and soften some of these little textures of the mystical water stamp. So this is where it's really important that you retain some of the, if you want to do this effect, where you retain some of the white of the paper. The white of the paper is representing the light, the color of light that is coming through the background and hitting the water. Okay, so this is going to be used minimally. I'm not going to put it out here because it's dark out there, so you're not going to have some light hitting some kind of moisture in the air, you know, where you can see this kind of misty fog kind of rising off the surface. Like right now. See, it's little dabs of it here and there, right there, and then in the background, see that? How the trees branches get a little bit diffused with the use of this tip right here. Okay, you see how kind of frayed that is and smashed down? That's kind of what you want to go after in your cotton swab. Something really, don't go with one of those that are really tightly bound. And this one's like think of real cotton. Anyways, it makes a difference. Okay. Okay. Look at that softness down there. That's how it reads from the distance. I'm never, I'm not looking at my scene like this. We look at our scenes like this, usually. So that's the way it looks right now. I can tell, as this ink dries a little bit, it's not as dark. But remember, when you spray it, it'll get darker. It'll, get that kind of wet ink look. Okay, but you can also go back and just tap it in. Okay, but like I said, I'll spray it. Okay, let's all right. Let's go and add. Okay, let's go and add some highlights into the scene. Don't go crazy, if your scene gets pretty dark like this. Otherwise, it might look kind of funny. Having a bunch of highlights where there isn't any light shining. Okay, so I'm kind of staying in the lighter areas with my highlights. So it's all highlights right in there. Okay. Just a few little dots. Okay, and down in the water, you can put a little bit of a specular light, which is supposed to be light that's brighter than white. It's kind of like a glistening little reflections, kind of shining back at the, if we were doing photography, back at the camera lens. Can you see that? These little bits, I'm kind of condensing them a little bit. Then as it moves out in the darkness, I'm just kind of spreading the dot out a little bit more. See that? And that's the way it looks. See those little bits here and there within the rocks, kind of defining the edge with a little bit of highlights. And then you can also do it kind of back here in the trees, kind of in the lighter areas. Something like that. It's kind of a dark statement right here. Monochromatic, very still. I don't know, I wouldn't say murky, but just very still and very quiet, emotionally quiet scene, and very simple to do as well. So anyways, I don't know, about 20 minutes here, and as far as the tonal range, I think it makes a complete full statement. I don't think when you do a scene like this, it really lacks for anything, in terms of the emotional content, okay? It's not a sunny one, of course, or something like that. You're not going to have that really bright, but anyways, kind of peaceful, as I see it. Anyways, I guess if you put a bat up there, it could look spooky or something like that, but quick, monochromatic, very dark scene. Okay. I'll get figure out a way to matte this and how to embellish it, and I'll continue this video then. Okay, I've decided to add in a Scenic Sentiment quote here, the sound of silence. I thought that matched really well with the spirit of this card. I've matted it on this card, and I've left a little bit of space down here so I can kind of decide how I want to approach this quote here. I've stamped it on to a small piece of glossy, okay, but I want this little piece here to kind of match the spirit of this one, so I'm going to kind of frame it off a little bit with some additional tone around on the edge, going with black again. That little sentiment, sound of silence, was also stamped in black. Okay, now the lettering here is fairly delicate, so I don't want to be too heavy-handed on it, but the scene is fairly heavy and dark, so I do want to get a decent amount of tone into this. Okay. Always kind of start off on the perimeter and work your way in. Okay. I was also looking at the scene, and I decided it really needed something. It needs some kind of additional element, some kind of focal point. There's not a whole lot we can do because it is kind of really filled in, but I'll show you what I'm going to do in a bit here after I finish this. Okay, now going back to that additional tone that I put into the scene here. Let me see. Trying to figure out what tip I used for that kind of violet tone. Let's see. Let's go with the deep lilac again. Okay. Now I don't want this little quote thing to be purple, but I do want to get a little bit of that tone in there, especially in the dark areas of it, just to kind of match the scene, the spirit of the scene, in terms of the similar hue. Okay, let's see how that looks here. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. I was thinking about putting it... Oh, that also looks okay. Yeah, I'm going to do something though first, and I'm not going to film it coming off that brutal length of the last video. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to matte this as well, okay, and cut it out. Alright. Okay, I framed off this, or I've matted off this little piece of cardstock with a little bit of a kind of a pale violet paper. And I have this. Okay, let me see if I can get that to focus in. Alright, just a real thin border. And I was looking at this, and I thought, that looks pretty interesting right there. And then what I would do is I would cut off the bottom of this paper like there, or there. I don't like this so much on this scene. But then I was looking at this right here, and I would just cut off this paper about like so down here. I kind of like this right in the middle, or well, at the bottom of the scene. That doesn't look good up there. That's really not good. I thought about something like that. And it's also kind of interesting right there. Having this kind of glowing thing. It's almost like a little neon border around that. But cut it off right about like that. Yeah, I think this looks better right up here. Something like that. Right in the middle of the, you know, right over the top of that. Okay. If you can't decide, just pick one, you know, and just do it. You can always do another scene again and kind of change the format. Okay. Let's see. I think that's about right. And let's see. Let's take this card and take that X-Acto blade, and I'm going to cut off the bottom of this and try to keep it as straight as possible. Kind of keep that distance the same. I'm putting a little bit more distance between here and here than the perimeter, just to kind of keep it bottom weighted a little bit more. Okay. All right. Sound of silence. Okay. Now this doesn't look done to me yet. And when I was thinking about whether it would be in this scene with the pine trees or not, I'm going to put them in anyway. I'm going to put in some little firefly elements, or I don't know, it's kind of an excuse for just having kind of these little glowing orbs in here. And I'm just going to go bold, or what I see as kind of a bold choice here. Okay, little pinpoints of light like that. And I think I'm going to put this little speck of violet into them, just so they're not so... It's kind of related, right? To the background. And there they are right there. Okay. And let's go back to our cotton swab. In this instance, I might want to let this dry for a little bit before I kind of start sponging over the top of them. Or do I just do it? Let me see, let me hold this up. And if I kind of hold this at an angle, I can kind of see the glare on there if these are still wet. Okay, they're fairly dry. I don't want this tip to be so wide. I want to start it off a little bit more narrow. Okay, I'm doing this. Kind of softening up the tip again a little bit. That's what I'm going for right there. Just that little glow coming off of that. You know, when you spray these sometimes, well, not sometime, but really all the time, these little delicate things that you do with that you might do with color box if you do this kind of technique right here. It's such a faint little glow in the background, or not the background, but on the surface. And if you've ever sprayed anything with like a spray fixative, like a soft medium, like chalks or pastels, you know that it's kind of subject to, or it's prone to just kind of eradicating those marks that you've made with it. So what I could do is these little hazy areas in here that I want, you know, created by the pigment ink, if they kind of disappear with the spraying, what I can do is I can just kind of go back in and put another layer of it over the top of the spray. And then you can kind of spray it, you know, again, lightly or something like that until you get kind of what you're going after. Okay, little glowing little things of light in there. They kind of a little bit even. Alright, where was I? My camera memory card just ran out. I've got full, so I'm going to add in a couple more little orbs, glowing orbs here, just so it's not so symmetrical here. I can't figure out what side of the cotton swab I was using. Okay. Alright, so we have something like that. There. Alright. Now, the background's kind of fading as it dries a little bit, so I think what I want to do is I want to spray this, and we'll see how that looks. Okay, I've just returned from spraying this card, and the saturations look pretty good. When I sprayed it, I noticed like the depth within here became much more apparent, and things got a little bit darker. I tried not to spray too much in here, but you know, because I don't want that little diffusion of light or whatever it is, that kind of glow from around those orbs to disappear completely. So it's a little bit lighter through there and heavier down here and here and in the two corners, okay? So anyways, that's that card right there. I think the quote went pretty well with that. Sound of Silence turned out to be a fairly dark and oh, I wouldn't say it's a brooding card. I think it's fairly elegant and simple and quiet, and it was easy to do. And also, I finally had a chance to use some of my violet whatever, textured cardstock. I've had that for a while. And I don't know if I've used it before to matte anything, but I thought it worked pretty good with this color scheme. So anyways, hope you enjoyed the card, and as always, thanks for watching.